Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursaleen, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain. Respected brothers and sisters, welcome to this week's IGNA ILF Understanding the Quran series. Inshallah, we'll be continuing the study of Surah Yusuf. This week's verses are verses 88 to 92, and today's session, inshallah, will be delivered by Dr. Abu Abdurahman.
جزاك الله خيرا أخي بارك الله فيك. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد, so inshallah we'll resume our reading and our tafsir from the Quran Kareem. We stopped at Surah Yusuf and we are at the ayah of 88. I'm going to read first the ayat inshallah, and then we give a brief explanation, and according to Tafsir ibn Kathir rahimahullah, we may mention some of the tafsir also, another couple tafsir and some words so we can understand the meanings of some of the ayat, and then inshallah we conclude with some of points of guidance and some benefits and lata'if from this ayat, and at the end inshallah maybe 5-10 minutes for comments and additions or questions inshallah. يقول تعالى جل وعلا بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم فلما دخلوا عليه قالوا يا أيها العزيز مسنا وأهلنا الضر وجئنا ببضاعة مزجاة فأوف لنا الكيل تصدق علينا إن الله يجزي المتصدقين قال هل علمتم ما فعلتم بيوسف وأخيه إذ أنتم جاهلون قالوا أئنك لأنت يوسف قال أنا يوسف وهذا أخي قد من الله علينا إنه من يتق ويصبر فإن الله لا يضيع أجر المحسنين قالوا تالله لقد آثرك الله علينا وإن كنا لخاطئين قال لا تثريب عليكم اليوم يغفر الله لكم وهو أرحم الراحمين. So translation of this ayat, inshallah, according to some sources, I found a very simplified one, that's, can be understood by anybody. The first ayah, ayah 88, when they entered Joseph's presence, they pleaded, O chief minister, we and our family have been touched with hardship, and we have brought only a few worthless coins. But please give us our supplies in full and be charitable to us. Indeed, Allah rewards the charitable. He asked, do you remember what you did to Joseph and his brother in your ignorance? They replied, are you really Joseph? He said, I am Joseph, and he is my brother. Allah has truly been gracious to us. Surely, whoever is mindful of Allah and patient, then certainly Allah never discounts the reward of the good doers. They admitted, by Allah, Allah has truly preferred you over us, and we have surely been sinful. Joseph said, there is no blame on you today. May Allah forgive you. He is the most merciful of the merciful. So Ibn Kathir, rahimahullah, he said, the ayah before this one, before the ayah of 88, Yaqub alayhi salam, he sent his Bani, his sons, after he heard the news about his other son, Yusuf's brother, that he was arrested. So he sent them and he asked them to go back to Egypt and tahassasu. He used the word tahassasu, just a brief. Tahassus in Arabic is when you search for something good. The opposite, actually, it's tajassus. It sounds similar. The only difference is there is a dot under the second letter in the word. And tajassus is spying, basically, in English, which is searching for something bad. So when Yaqub alayhi salam, he asked his sons to go and seek the information, and the akhbar of Yusuf and his brother Binyamin, they went back to Misr. They went back to Egypt, and that's for the third time. seeking number one, information about their brothers because they know he is in Egypt for sure, and number two, they want also to get some food grains because of what they have been getting of hardships as far as droughts and famine. But subhanallah, we know all the famous hadith, عبدي أنت تريد وأنا أريد وما يكون إلا ما أريد, that my Lord, my servant, you want or you will, and I want, and nothing will be except what I want. And subhanallah, when you look at the story, it's amazing how everything falls into part, how everything falls exactly in its place, how the whole scene, how all of these years, how Yusuf alayhi salam, after he's been wronged by his brothers, and after all these years, this is the moment now that he's about to reveal his secret and to talk to his brothers. After 2 years of them being back and forth on him, not knowing that the Aziz of Misr, that the Aziz of Egypt is himself, Yusuf, their brother, alayhi salam. So the ayah, the verse 88, begins with the word فَلَمَّا دَخَلُوا عَلَيْهِ, and when they came to him, they said, it means that when the brothers of Yusuf reached Egypt as ordered by their father and met the Aziz of Misr, they talked to him in a very flattering tone, presenting their plea and their need and their helplessness. They told the Aziz that they and their family were suffering because of the famine, like we mentioned, so much so that they did not have even adequate funds to purchase food grains. Compelled by the circumstances, they had brought a capital which was not good enough for that purpose. And that's the word bida'atun muzjat. Bida'a, it's a merchandise, but it's referring here to the coins. And one of the tafsir, other tafsir in Qurtubi and Ibn Jarir rahimahullah, they said this bida'a, this merchandise, it was a very bad one. It had a very bad quality. Some they said it was some of like leaves of a pine tree. Some they said it's wool and salmonella, but it was also of a very bad quality. Some there was the closest to the rajih, Allahu a'lam, it's coins that are not being accepted in the open market. It's a currency that they had, however, it's a very bad currency that isn't even accepted in the open market. So they asked him to give them in full measure, despite the fact that they had that bad merchandise, by saying وَأَوْفِ أو أَوْفِ لَنَا الْكَيْلَ وَتَصَدَّقْ عَلَيْنَا, give us in full measure as if you gave us, if we gave you a good quality merchandise, or as you used to give us in the past 2 years in full measures. Don't discount us and don't lessen your reward or your measurement toward us. That's one of the tafsir as well. And then they said وَتَصَدَّقَ عَلَيْنَا, and be charitable to us. Indeed, Allah rewards the charitable. We'll come, inshallah, we'll talk a little bit about this this word tasaddaq alayna in the benefits and all of that. So they plead to him by saying, "Inna Allah yajzi al-mutasaddiqin," that Allah indeed rewards those who give in charity. Those who give in charity. When Yusuf alayhi salam heard these submissive words from his brothers and that plea of them, and he saw alayhi salam their broken down condition and their objective poverty and that stairs that they were in, he was naturally coming to a point where he would have no option but to disclose the truth as it was. Obviously, this truth that was about to be disclosed, it was a wahi from Allah. According to Ibn Kathir rahimahullah, he said Yusuf were not to reveal his identity to his brothers except from wahi, from a revelation from Allah Jalla wa ala. Likewise, he concealed exactly his identity the past 2 years or more of them coming back and forth to him, to seeing him without knowing him. That's also by wahi, by Allah. So Allah Jalla wa ala willed that's a time for Yusuf now to reveal his identity to his brothers and tell them the truth. It was also mentioned in the Qurtubi tafsir that Yaqub alayhi salam, their father, he sent a letter um, to Yusuf, the Aziz of Misr, obviously not knowing his Yusuf, pleading to him also to release his brother. I found the letter actually with the English translation. I'm going to read it to you. Just give me 1 second, inshallah. It's very powerful in Arabic, but I don't have time to just read in Arabic. I'll say it inshallah in English. He said, alayhi salam, from Yaqub, Safiyullah ibn Ishaq, Nabihullah ibn Ibrahim Khalilullah, to the Aziz of Misr. After offering praise to Allah, our entire family is known for hardships and trials. My grandfather Ibrahim Khalilullah was tested through the fire of Nimrud. Then my father Ishaq was put to a hard test. Then I was tested through a son of mine whom I held very dear, to the limit that I lost my eyesight when separated from him. After that, there was his younger brother, a source of comfort for me in my grief, whom you arrested on a charge of theft. And let me tell you that we are the progeny of prophets. Never have we committed a theft, nor has there ever been a thief among our children, and peace upon you. It was said, subhanAllah, by Ibn Abbas, that when Yusuf alayhi salam read this letter, he was shook. He trembled. He trembled, subhanAllah, and he broke completely into tears. And then he decided to let the secret out. To start with, he first asked his brother if they remembered what they had done with Yusuf and his brother at the time when they were ignorant. In kuntum, if kuntum jahilin. If kuntum jahilin, you were ignorant, unable to distinguish between good and bad, and quite neglectful of acting with foresight. Some scholars, they said he used the word ignorant here because, subhanAllah, Yusuf alayhi salam, even before revealing the secret to, or while revealing the secret, he's excusing his brothers. Because describing them by ignorant, he's referring to their young age. And when someone is that young, they don't distinguish, they don't discern, they don't know the difference a lot of times between good and bad, and they act sometimes based on emotion and based on atifa, on passion. And then he used the word jahilun. So if he's given them already an excuse that you were young and you did not know. However, do you remember what you've done with Yusuf and his brother? Then, subhanAllah, when his brother heard this question and that statement, they were also dumbfounded. They said in complete, subhanAllah, amazingness, and they were astonished because they, in their mind, how come this man knows the story of Yusuf? And they automatically and right away, they recollected the dream seen by Yusuf, by the young Yusuf alayhi salam, when he was very young, because they heard the story. If you remember in the beginning of the surah, when he told his father that he saw that dream, one of his brother was listening, and he informed the rest. So now they all know that Yusuf alayhi salam, he had a dream. And at that moment, they knew exactly that that's the young Yusuf, the one that had that interpretation, of which was that he could achieve some high ranks, subhanAllah, and they would have to bow down before him. They asked, Aziz of Misr, is none else but Yusuf himself? And they said, are you Yusuf? Are you really Yusuf? Still to confirm if he is Yusuf or not. Then he replied after that, alayhi salam, yes, I am Yusuf. I am Yusuf, and this is my brother. قال أنا يوسف وهذا أخي. Subhanallah, the word أنا Yusuf, some scholars, they said he did not say أنا him or أنا who. They did not say it is me. Me here, subhanAllah, the word me here is referring to, gives like insinuation of being a higher status, or of being like you're a high and they're too low. He used his name, alayhi salam, just to refer to the young Yusuf, the one who's been wronged. Yusuf al-Madloom. Yusuf, the one who was thrown in the well, subhanAllah. Yusuf, the one who suffered a lot. Yusuf, the one who endured a lot. And he mentioned his brother too, because his brother also was, after Yusuf disappeared, or after Yusuf obviously went away, his brother suffered afterwards from the other brothers as well. And That way he mentioned his name himself, and Yusuf وهذا أخي meaning أخي Binyamin. And that also a confirmation for them to know that he's exactly Yusuf. In some narrations from Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, it says that he also revealed some marks that he had on his forehead. When he removed the crown from his head, alayhi salam, they saw a mark that's known only for Yusuf when he was young. At that moment, they knew exactly that the Aziz of Misr is none but Yusuf alayhi salam. Then he continued alayhi salam. He said, "قد من الله علينا." Allah has been very kind to us. Allah has been very gracious to us. In another translation, indeed, for those who exercise patience and taqwa, who exercise piety and patience, indeed Allah does not waste, Allah does not discount, Allah does not lose the reward of those who do good, those who are good doers, or those who exercise ihsan and excellence. These are the qualities of those of patience and fear of Allah, which are the key of success. Subhanallah, when you look at Yusuf alayhi salam now, he's the king of Egypt, right? With all of that, how did he come to that? How did Yusuf alayhi salam come to that? Obviously, the answer in this area, these two qualities, the taqwa and the sabr, the piety, being pious and being patient, are one of the reasons, the two qualities they gave Yusuf exactly this high rank over his brothers and over everybody else in his time. Obviously, with these two qualities, Yusuf endured a lot, and subhanallah, his hardship was replaced by security, and his hardship became comfort, and his separation from his brothers and his brother became union at last, subhanallah. And that the paucity of wealth and recognition turned into total abundance from Allah Jalla wa'ala. Surely whoever fears Allah and abstain from sins and observe patience while in distress, excuse me, then Allah does not waste the reward of the good doers like these, subhanallah. At that moment, now the brothers of Yusuf alayhi salam had no choice left with them but to confess the wrongs they had done and admit the grace and excellence of Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam. So in one voice, in one narration, they all said together, Tallahi, by Allah, لَقَدْ آثَرَكَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْنَا وَإِن كُنَّا لَخَاطِئِينَ. Allah has given you preference, has preferred you over us, which you deserved, and we were surely in error. إِن كُنَّا لَخَاطِئِينَ, in whatever we did to you and your brother. So obviously here there is a hadith in the kalam, therefore they're seeking forgiveness, so forgive us in the name of Allah. That's why he replied right away, alayhi salam, with a response, subhanallah, does not come except from a prophet. La ilaha illallah. A response, like scholars, they said, this response comes only from someone with a high and noble character, like Yusuf alayhi salam, when he said, La tathriba alaykum al-yawm, no reproach upon you, no admonition upon you, no blame upon you, no regret upon you today. Not to say much about taking revenge of your injustice against me on this day, subhanallah. I would not even blame you for it. That's his character, alayhi salam. And that's the character of our Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We have to remember this too. He himself, alayhi salatu wasalam, he used this exact wordings, La tathriba alaykum al-yawm. When he opened Mecca, alayhi salam, this is a narration from Ibn Abbas, radiallahu anhuma, when Nabi sallam, he was holding the gates of Mecca, and the people of Quraysh, they were seeking refuge with the Kaaba, and he said, Ya ma'ashar Quraysh, ma tadhunnuna anni fa'ilun bikum. Oh, my people of Quraysh, what do you think of me? What do you think I'm going to do with you? And they said, Akhun Kareem, ibn Akhin Kareem. They said, Khayra. They said, goodness or good. You're a good brother or generous brother, a son of a generous brother. He said, I will not say none but what my brother Yusuf said, La tathriba alaykum al-yawm. There is no blame upon you today. Allah will forgive you. Allah forgive you. And He is the merciful of all the merciful. Subhanallah. after this is the well, we stop here. Inshallah, we'll continue next time. The next ayah, even though obviously this is the second part of the story of Yusuf, because all this time nobody knows or nobody knew his identity until he himself, alayhi salam, revealed his identity, his brothers, and then we'll know what happens after, inshallah, next week. I just want to share a couple of things, inshallah, from this ayat, some points of guidance, and then we can open for questions and marks. Before I do that, one thing, subhanAllah, I want to share with you. Just 2 weeks ago, Dr. Omar Suleiman, Hafidahullah, he was here in New Jersey, and he shared, he gave a very beautiful lecture, subhanAllah. One of the things that he said and stuck to my mind, he talked about the qasas, the stories in Quran in general, and he mentioned very important point, subhanAllah, that every single Muslim should reflect upon and should try his best or her best to implement. He said, whenever you read the stories, it's not just a story in the Quran. Subhanallah. Allah Jalla wa Ala said in the beginning of this surah, Surah Yusuf, نَحْنُ نَقُصُّ عَلَيْكَ أَحْسَنَ الْقَصَصِ. We, subhanallah, narrate to you, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the best of stories. Right? Why this best of stories? Why this best of stories? Just so we can get entertained, so that we just hear the story and move on. These stories are for a reason, so we can exactly follow. So how we do that? Umar Sulaiman, Hafidullah, he mentioned, he said, when you read the story, ask yourself this question: who am I in this story? Who am I in this story, subhanallah? So you take a story of Yusuf, for example, alayhi salam. Who are you? Who am I in this story? Am I Yusuf alayhi salam? Am I his brothers? Am I one of his brothers? Am I his other brother? In this story, right now, in reality, in my real life right now, am I Yaqub? I've been tested. Am I patient? I am the Aziz. I am that woman that tried to seduce Yusuf alayhi salam. Are the other women of Egypt? Who are you? Are you the companions of Yusuf in prison? Which one of you are of these people? Subhanallah. And then when you ask that question and you look at yourself, obviously no one knows this answer, and no one need to know this answer except you. You ask that question sincerely between you and yourself and try to answer the question. That's how you get better. If you are, subhanAllah, on the wrong side, then you know that you should strive and you should be on the other side. If you are on the right side, now you try your best to strive to improve and have a higher ranks as well. If you are confused which side you will be or you should be in, seek help. Seek help from scholars, seek help from A'immas, seek help from the Quran, seek help from Allah Jalla wa Ala. Go to the night, pray between you and Allah when people are sleeping, when there is no one, hears nothing except Allah that hears everything. Go back to Allah and see which part are you. You take story of Musa alayhi salam. Who are you in the story of Musa? Are you Fir'aun wal-'iyadu billah? Are you Haman? Are you one of his their soldiers? Are you the Jallad, the prison guard? Are you Musa? Are you his brother who's supporting him? Are you the mother of Musa? Or are you the sister of Musa? Are you that man who supported Musa and helped and got his back? Are you, subhanallah, are you people of Israel who said, go fight by yourself, we're not going to fight with you. Go fight on your Lord, do whatever you need to do. Subhanallah. You look at a story of Ayub alayhi salam. Ayub is the example of patience too as well. Who are you from that story? Are you Ayub or his wife or his son? Are you Nuh or his son? Are you Lot or his wife or his people? Billah. Put yourself in category and ask yourself that question. And subhanallah, you will see, subhanallah, how you start reflecting upon the Quran in a different way. When you read these stories, when you come across these stories, you have a different view of the Quran and different way of contemplation and different way of reflection and thinking and tadabbur on the ayat of the Quran, subhanallah, and it will definitely make you a better Muslim, make you better Muslim. Some of the benefits I will mention, inshallah, quickly about this ayat, some points of guidance. We come to know of many injunctions, rulings, as well as guidelines, subhanallah, as far as this ayat, which are good to have in life. Number one, excuse excuse me, first of all, the use of the expression tasaddaq alayna, which is, we're going to come to this one. Alayna, be charitable to us, in verse 88, raises the question to how would sadaqah and charity become halal for the brothers of Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam, who are the progeny of prophets. Obviously, they are prophets. And how sadaqah can be halal for them. And as we know, according to an opinion, that sadaqah, that charity, is forbidden upon prophets. According to one opinion, I said one opinion, which means there are other opinions which mention that sadaqah is only haram, is only forbidden upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So how come they said tasaddaq alayna? In one of the tafsir, they said tasaddaq alayna, ay tasaddaq alayna bi i'alati akhina lana. Be charitable to us by giving us back our brother. That's one of the interpretation of this word, tasaddaq alayna. Some mufassirin, they said this is a little bit far because the word sadaqah usually is not used in Arabic language in that sense. And therefore, the other, most likely the other explanation, that because there is no explicit hadith that sadaqah is forbidden upon all prophets. We have a hadith in Bukhari that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he said that sadaqah is forbidden upon me and my family. And al-Bayt, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and his al and his family, alayhim salam, charity is forbidden upon them. But we do not know, actually, there is a proof or explicit hadith that says that sadaqah is forbidden upon prophets. Wallahu a'lam. Some, they said, obviously, a clear enough answer to this, that the word sadaqah used here does not mean exactly the meaning of sadaqah, which is given charity. Because in fact, the request of a concession in the transaction has been given the name of sadaqah and khayrat. So here sadaqah means khayrat, like blessings, like give us from what Allah has given you. In other words, that's also another way of putting the word sadaqah in this context. Wallahu a'lam. Number two, the last sentence of the verse, Inna Allah yajzi mutasaddiqeen. Surely Allah rewards the charitable. Yusuf's brothers, subhanallah, obviously they are in their religion, the religion of Yaqub, their father, alayhi salam, which is the religion of Ishaq, the religion of Ibrahim, alayhi salam. But they did not know Yusuf is a believer or not. So they used the general term here, in Allah yajzi al-mutasaddiqeen. And that's something we can say too as well. Because as we know, a person will be rewarded for his charity, regardless if he's a believer or disbeliever. Obviously, as we know, for a disbeliever, he will not have a reward in the hereafter. However, for a believer, he will have reward here and hereafter. Obviously, with the good intention and sincerity and ikhlas, and without obviously riyah and showing off and all of that. But a believer, because of his belief, because of his tawheed, because of his oneness and monotheism, he will be rewarded for both here and hereafter. However, the disbeliever always got rewarded in this dunya. However, in the hereafter, he has no reward. وَقَدِمْنَا إِلَى مَا عَمِلُوا مِنْ عَمَلٍ فَجَعَلْنَاهُ هَبَاءً مَنْثُورًا. We came to every deed they used to do, and we made it nothing, literally nothing. So here, just from precaution, they use that general term in Allah yajzi mutasaddiqeen, which applies to anyone, a believer or non-believer. That way they can cover themselves. Obviously, the benefit here is also a Muslim can, especially living in a country when the majority are non-Muslims, so he can use sometimes general terms in pleading, for example, like in this case, without insinuating anything. That can be used for a believer and disbeliever at the same time, and without him being breaking any rules or going against any aqidah or anything that go against his doctrine or go against the tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number three, the sentence, Man Allahu alayna, Allah has been very kind or has been very gracious to us, in verse 90, proves that should one be in some distress, subhanAllah, and hardship, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala delivers him or takes him away from that hardship or removes the hardship and shower him or her with his blessings. He should not mention the hardship. Yusuf alayhi salam I take that back, could have said that, you remember what you've done to me, you remember because of you I suffered this, I was sold as a slave. I was treated as a slave. I entered prison for years. I had this, I had that, but he did not mention any of that. Obviously, the reason, it's the doing of his brothers. However, he, alayhi salam, with his high status as a prophet, he just mentioned the goodness and the blessings of Allah, and that belongs only to Allah. And he said, قَدْ مَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَيْنَا. Allah has been very gracious to us. And subhanAllah, this is a very, very beautiful and noble character that a Muslim and a Muslimah should strive for. Sometimes you get hurt from close ones, family members, a friend, a colleague, and you suffer really a lot of consequences from that. However, when time comes to forgive or to be grateful, do not mention what has been happened. Just say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has replaced the hardship, with kindness and with blessings. And I am grateful to Allah that I'm in better shape right now. I'm in better status right now. Subhanallah. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the Quran, truly man is to his Lord and grateful. In the insana li rabbihi lakanud. Indeed, man to his Lord is ungrateful. A Muslim should seek always to be outside of this category. Wal'iyadu billah. Number 4, the last sentence, إِنَّهُ يَتَّقِي وَيَصْبَرُ. Surely whoever fears Allah and observe patience, then Allah does not waste the reward of the good doers. In this verse, this verse tells us that taqwa, which is abstention from sins and doing what's been ordered to do, which is doing the obligation and doing from the forbidden things. And sabr, that is patience and fortitude, are 2 qualities which deliver excuse me, one from every disaster, subhanallah, and distress. Quran mentioned this in many, many ayat. I'll give you an example. وَإِن تَصْبِرُوا وَتَتَّقُوا لَا يَضُرُّكُمْ كَيْدُهُمْ شَيْئًا. If you keep patience, if you exercise patience and fear of Allah, their cunning shall not harm you. Look at this one here in this ayah of Allah. Sabr is before the taqwa. وَإِن تَصْبِرُوا وَتَتَّقُوا. In this verse that we're discussing, إِنَّهُ مَن يَتَّقِ وَيَصْبَرُ. So taqwa came before sabr here. What's the difference? Whoever observes patience, taqwa and patience. The word taqwa is a general term for everything that is good. And under that, sabr comes. Sabr is one of the qualities of taqwa. So some scholars, they say this is atf al-khas al-am. It's the coordination of something special on something general. Because taqwa is, Allah could have said, or Yusuf could have said here, إِنَّهُ مَن يَتَّقِي فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُضِيعُ أَجْرَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. It could have been enough to say إِنَّهُ مَن يَتَّقِي. Even taqwa by itself is enough for the good doers to be rewarded for. But he mentioned sabr here. Why? To show the importance of sabr, and sabr is a special. It's one of the quality of taqwa, goes under, however, it's being coordinated on taqwa min bab atf al-khas al-am, to show the importance of sabr. Subhanallah. Sabr, just a side note, I don't know if maybe it was mentioned before in tafsir, but the sabr, the shari'a definition of sabr, is defined by the types of sabr itself. There are 3 types of sabr, of patience. Sabr ala ta'a, sabr anil ma'asiyah, wa sabr ala aqdarillah. These are the 3 types of sabr. Patience on the ta'a, on doing the good deeds, on the worship. Sabr anil ma'asiyah, patience from doing bad and evil and committing sins. And the 3rd type is sabr ala aqdarillah, or it's patience, exercising patience upon the fate and the destiny of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from disasters, calamities, tests, and all of that. These are the 3 types of sabr. Scholars, they differed which one is best, the first or second. Some they said the second is the hardest, therefore is the highest, has the highest rank. The one who exercises patience from not doing haram has a higher rank from the one who's exercising patience to do good, to pray, to give charity. Again, there's a khilaf among scholars which one is higher than other, but all 3 are wanted and must be there for a Muslim to exercise and to achieve this character of sabr. And obviously, إِنَّمَا الصَّبْرُ بِالتَّصَبُّرِ, like in the hadith, sabr comes with what? By exercising sabr. By exercising and implementing sabr. Sabr doesn't come just like that. Comes with exercise, with pay, comes with time and endurance and all of that. And reflecting, of course, upon these stories and looking at it and asking ourselves if we are being patient like Yusuf was, so we can be rewarded, subhanAllah, like he is. So that's how sabr will come. Allah SWT to make us among those who exercise taqwa and sabr in everything they do, and to seek the reward from none but Allah Jalla wa'ala. He said, when he said, alayhi salam, لا تثريب عليكم اليوم, no reproach upon you, no blame upon you. By the way, there are two recitations for this ayah. لا تثريب عليكم اليوم يغفر الله لكم. Some reciters, they stop at the word عليكم, لا تثريب عليكم, no blame upon you, and they recite اليوم يغفر الله لكم, today Allah will forgive you. Obviously, when we stop here, the meaning changed, because here this is a confirmation from Yusuf that today his brothers will be forgiven. When you stop at the word yawm, the word day, there's no blame upon you today. يغفر الله لكم, Allah forgives you. Allahu a'lam when. That day, another day, but Allah surely will forgive them, but we don't know. However, if you stop at the word yawm, that shows you, subhanAllah, in Quran, by the way, there is a science by itself called ilm al-waqf al-ibtida, the science of stopping and starting, basically, or initiating the recitation. Meaning, a scholar would know exactly when and when to stop and where not, and when or not to stop. There are certain ayat that you should not stop at. Certain words in some ayat you have to continue reciting, even if you have short breath. You do your best to do so. But that's just a side note to show that the subhanAllah, when you stop at a different word, the meaning changes completely. Subhanallah. So when you stop at the word alaykum, is different than you stop at the word al-yawm. So in this, subhanAllah, shows the highest level of good morals of Sayyiduna Yusuf alayhi salam, whereby the oppressor was not only forgiven, subhanAllah, but spared the blame too. You're not only forgiven, oh my brothers, yet you're spared the blame. SubhanAllah, there's no blame upon you. There's no tathrib upon you today. So we stop here, inshallah. If there is any questions at all, I'm happy bi'idhnillah to answer in my ability. If there is any shortcomings, it's from me. Any mistakes, it's from me, from shaitan. Any good, any benefits, it's from Allah Jalla wa'ala. Among those who listen to the hadith and follow the best of it, and among those who reflect upon Quran and follow everything, implement everything they learn in their lives, and to be rewarded for it. Subhanakallah wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.
Jazakallah khair. Beautiful tafsir there, and many important lessons. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to put these into practice. So inshallah, just a couple of questions. You very nicely explained how sabr and taqwa, and that sabr is a part of taqwa. What is your advice on how we can better master this concept of sabr? Some of us struggle more than others, and all of us need to try to improve the amount of sabr we're able to practice in various situations. But any quick tips on how to level in our practice?
Inshallah, Jazakallah khair. It's a very good question. Of course, we all suffer from this. None of us, like you mentioned, we have different levels, of course, of sabr. But the best thing is, like I used the word tasabbur. إنما الصبر بالتصبر, إنما التقوى بالتوقي, إنما الحلم بالتحلم. Another hadith. So the word, when you add the word ta in Arabic to the verb sabara or yasbiru, it means you put effort. Tasabbur means you put in effort. Obviously, like I said, doesn't come just like that. Sabr comes with time, comes with reading Quran, comes with good company, listening to scholars, learning the adab and the manners of sabr and from the people of sabr, right? One of the scholars actually, they recommend, subhanallah, visiting hospitals and seeing sick people who are in very bad situations and very bad health, and how patient they are, especially Muslims, of course. How grateful they are even in that status, and how patient they've been for years, especially like people who are suffering from cancer. We ask Allah to protect us and help us and keep it away from us. That shows you subhanallah, how these people, especially Muslims and believers, exercising that patience. That makes you reflect that you should be even more patient. You're healthy, you're well, you're nothing wrong with you, subhanallah, and yet sometimes to smallest thing you send your wrath upon everybody, starting with your family, your colleagues. Doesn't work that way. Yes, we're human beings. We make mistakes. We get angry. We don't reflect. We don't sometimes invoke these meanings right away, right? But the best, honestly, the tip I would give is just by exercise and being always mindful. Be always mindful of sabr. Nabi Sallam in the hadith, he said, خيركم لأهلي وأنا خيركم لأهلي. The best of you are the best to his family. Why is that? Statistically speaking, and when you look at the sociology and psychology, usually the rudest we are to our families, our spouses, our kids, our parents. That's a fact, unfortunately, and that takes a lot of patience. Takes a lot of patience for an individual to, subhanallah, treat his family members the way they should be treated. That's why Nabi Sallam in this hadith, he said, the best of you, not the best of their colleagues outside at work or their friends when they play soccer or whatever, or at the masjid when they meet his brothers or sisters. That's not the best. The best is the one who exercises patience when he's dealing with his spouse, when he's dealing with his parents, elderly parents, when he's dealing with brothers in blood, when he's dealing with his kids and his daughter or his son. That's the actual patience that should be exercised and implemented. And that will take a person to a different level, inside and outside the house. Wallahu a'lam.
Jazakallah khairan. Very important tips there. Inshallah, second and last question. So in the last verse, I think it was that we studied today, when the brothers of Yusuf alayhi salam admitted their mistakes, Yusuf alayhi salam, called on Allah to forgive them after so much they had done to him. Now, this is very difficult for many of us to really practice, to be able to forgive somebody who's been so nasty to you. Again, what's your advice there? How do we get over this? How can we learn to forgive people who have treated us very badly?
That's a very good question and a tough one too. So it comes again, subhanallah, it comes with the practice. It comes with knowing the Sunnah and the Quran and all these stories. Like I said, this ahsan al-qasas, these stories are not just to be a story. A lot of us, yes, we read Quran. A lot of us, we read the hadith. But when it comes to the implementation, that's what differentiates, subhanallah, the one who practiced really the Sunnah of the Prophet versus the one who just read and there is no practice, the one who just carry knowledge and there is no practice. And Nabi Sallam in the hadith, he said, the Sahabi came to him, hadith in Sahih Muslim, I don't remember the Sahabi who narrated the hadith, but the Sahabi asked the Prophet Sallam, if I'm not mistaken, it was Abu Hurairah, he said that a man came to the Prophet Sallam and he asked him, O Messenger of Allah, my family, my kin, I go to them, but they refuse to come to me. I asiluhum wa yaqta'unani. I reach out to them and they cut off their ties with me. I try to be good with them and they are mean to me. What should I do? Should I stop from doing what I'm doing? Nabi Sallam said, no. He said, you should not. He said, keep doing what you're doing. As if you are, I don't even know the translation in English. This word is very hard. Tasuffuhum. Saf is when you have a powder and you lick in a powder, or you're like inhaling powder, basically, like any type of powder. And ramad is the ramad, subhanallah, which is the ashes from the fire, after the fire, ashes, as if you're as if they're swallowing ashes from you, subhanallah. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing good. Don't let that treatment keep you from doing that good. Of course, that's a very high status too, to get to that point. Us, obviously, you got hurt by someone, you cut it off. I don't want to see you, I don't want to talk to you, I don't want any text from you, and keep distance. To get to the point when someone hurts you and you reach out to them and keep reaching out to subhanallah, to strengthen the ties and to go back to Allah and the path of Allah. That's something maybe you don't see these days. Allahu A'lam. Maybe it exists somewhere in the world, but we haven't seen it. I haven't seen it myself. But at least when you're hurt, you do not face the sayyi'ah bis-sayyi'ah. Idfa as-sayyi'ah billati hiya ahsan. Push the sayyi'ah, the bad deed, with that which is good. Subhanallah. And the good, at least Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in the hadith said, if someone cannot say something good, let him silent. Silence sometimes it's also good, because if you speak or if you say something, you may say something that you regret later, and then you're also you're rewarding that hurt or that bad deed by another bad deed that may even worsen the situation afterwards. But to come to your question, it's very difficult. However, it also comes by exercising this. How we do that? The good company, the Quran and the tafsir of the Quran. Always have that in the back of your mind. So don't forget about Surah Yusuf once this surah is done. No, keep this surah and himself, alayhi salam, and what he's been through always through your mind. If you come across such a situation, that way, in that moment, you can act accordingly. Read the hadith, read how the Prophet ﷺ, look at the seerah, how he ﷺ used to face the people of Quraysh, the munafiqeen, those who hurt him so much, subhanallah, hurt him to the point that we cannot even imagine. How he ﷺ, yes, someone will say he's a prophet. Yes, he's a prophet, but he's the best example for us. So we can follow his footsteps. And we act like him. Hopefully that one day with him, alayhi salam. Jazakallahu khairan.
There's one more question that's come in. So the Surah Yusuf alayhi salam obviously teaches us how to behave with family members, especially when they don't treat us well. And we return it with good kindness, asking for forgiveness, and so forth. But in a similar situation, if we have family members who are not practicing Islam, so they're not necessarily doing anything bad in terms of their treatment to you, how should we be dealing with them? How should we be dealing with family members that are good to you on the face, kind with you, but not practicing Islam as they should, like missing prayers, committing sins, etc.?
That's a very good question. So we'll have to distinguish between two things here. So when you meet that person, that family member, for example, either you see him doing the ma'asiyah, either you see him doing that sin, right? Or not seeing him. That makes the treatment different completely, right? So if he's committing the sin, or you see him, or that's different when he's in a gathering with you, or he's very smiley to you and he's being kind to you. Obviously at that time you have to be kind to him too. Now maybe you're gonna come, subhanallah, to this ayah in Surah Yusuf. Actually, we're gonna use this, subhanallah. قُلْ هَذِهِ سَبِيلِي أَدْعُو إِلَى اللَّهِ عَلَى بَصِيرَةٍ أَنَا وَمَنِ اتَّبَعَنِي. This ayah in Surah Yusuf, at the end, the last page of the surah, say, this is my path. I call to Allah upon a basira, upon a sight, me and with those who are with me. Obviously, this person needs to be reminded of Allah. This person needs to be advised, right? We have to give nasiha to this person. Now, how we do that? This ayah exactly explain and give you a guidance how to do so. The word basira, just roughly, scholars said, it means ilm. Basira means knowledge. You have to have knowledge. Knowledge of what, though? Three things. Al-ilm بالأمر المدعو إليه. You have to know exactly what you're calling for. If you're calling for something, you have to know what's that. You're calling for the person to pray, you have to know about prayer. If you're calling him not to do that sin, you have to know the hukm, the ruling of Islam of that particular matter, right? You're not going to just go and say it's haram or it's halal or it's makruh and you shouldn't do that without knowing exactly the full measure or the full knowledge of if there's khilaf among scholars, if there's difference among scholars, if different opinions or not. So you have to at least have some sort of knowledge of that matter before you approach someone. That's number one. Number two, you have to know حال المدعو إليه. You have to know the status of the person you're calling, right? Are you calling someone who's ignorant, illiterate, someone who never read anything? Are you talking to someone same language like you? Are you talking to someone a different gender? Are you talking to someone elderly, young? You have to know exactly the status of that person. Is he a Muslim just recently? Was he born a Muslim? It makes a difference. All of that makes a difference when knowing the status of the person that you're calling to. And number three, you have to know العلم بالطريقة الموصلة إلى ذلك. You have to know the way to deliver that message. And that's extremely important. That's what most of us lack. That's when it comes to nasiha, especially with family member. Remember, subhanAllah, I mentioned the hadith just خيركم خيركم لأهله. The best of you are the best to your family. Obviously, out of passion, when I see my son or my brother or my sister is not wearing hijab or he's not praying, I get so angry at them and they maybe even start saying words and you see the same exact thing from someone else outside, maybe a neighbor, and you don't act the same way. You don't. And that's true, right? But we have to exercise that patience. We really have to exercise that patience and keep calm and try to compose ourselves when we give that da'wah, and especially for family members. So you have to know these three things. Know the hukm of what you're calling to. Know the status of that person first. What's his ideology about Islam, what he thinks, the way, and that's one of the things. And then know how to deliver that message. And the word how also includes under it when and where. Sometimes it's not a good time to say anything. Sometimes it's a good time, sometimes it's not. You have to know exactly also how to deliver that message. Now, I want to just mention one point and I will conclude, inshallah. Not because they're missing prayers and that committing large sins and you know of it, therefore you have to exclude them from your life. That should not be the case, especially as a member too. You have to do your best to bring them back to the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Maybe you yourself, one day you were exactly in the same situation and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you tawfiq. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has been gracious to you and kind to you to pull you back from that bad company, from that swamp that you were swimming at, to bring you back, subhanAllah, to a clean and better environment. Remember that it could be the situation for you too. So you never give up hope and never be rude or mean, and try the best you can, to, especially for family members, to bring them back to the path of Allah to your dying day and to their last dying day too. Allahu a'lam ya akhi.
And Jazakallah khair, Brother Ibrahim. Inshallah, we'll end there. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you. May Allah give us all tawfiq to act on what we've listened to from you today. With that, we'll end here and resume same time, 9 p.m. Eastern Time next Wednesday. Subhanak Allahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Wal asr. Innal insana lafi khusr. إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر صدق الله العظيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر.